Proudly serving as the Appalachian State University College radio station. From the George G. Beasley Media Complex and the Wayne L. Sumner Studios, 90.5 WASU-FM, Boone, WASUradio.com. Download the app or just say, Alexa, play WASU-FM.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer! Pass is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. Baez sends it deep to left. Pagan is there at the wall and it's in the basket! He's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger. And the kick is blocked. Appalachian State has stunned the college football world. One of the greatest upsets in sports history.
It's time for Sports Wrap on 90.5 WASU-FM.
That is right. You heard it there from old sports director Garrett Davenport. It is time for Sports Wrap. Happy Thursday, everyone. So glad to be back with you all in the studio. Had fall break last couple of days, so we did not have a show on Tuesday, but we're back at it tonight. And let me just go ahead and tell you, we've got some pretty exciting stuff to talk about. So Jason James here with you. Beside me, we've got Cooper Govero, Cody Bear, and Stephen Biddix. Happy Thursday, guys. How are we doing?
Hey, we're hanging out. It's a beautiful Thursday. Last week we had some rain and clouds, but we're feeling good. Got a lot of good topics. We're going to get into some app football, so yeah, it should be exciting.
Yeah, 3-day week this week after fall break here at App. Can't have a bad one that way.
Yeah, it's nice to be back in the 60s and 70s. I was actually back home in Idaho over the weekend. We got 5 inches of snow on Monday night alone. It looked like a winter wonderland out there already. So it was nice coming back out wearing some shirts and shorts this week.
Yeah, this guy Steve was freezing over there in Idaho.
But let's just go ahead. You're not originally from Idaho, though, right?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
They moved out there last year. Yeah.
I didn't think you were originally from Idaho.
Have you ever seen snow, though, on October 11th, man? Before
Man, I have not.
October, it's wild.
I have not. So, yeah, my break actually it was my 22nd birthday. So my family came up for my break, and we got to spend the day together, and I got to go eat with my family and my grandma, my girlfriend, my nephews, my sister-in-law, brother, all the whole 9 yards. So it was a pretty good break, if you ask me. So. Well, fellas, I'm ready to dive into it. I don't know if y'all are. This is exciting. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Like Cooper said, we're going to talk a little bit about a recap from the App game last Tuesday. Then we're going to get into some NFL, some college football preview, and then we're going to end the show kind of on a different note tonight, but something I think would be cool. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So, guys, we all clearly know App, let's just say, got manhandled, because that's really, what happened. Went down to Louisiana in a game that really they needed to win really bad. National level, or national stage, I guess you could say, and then they go and play Louisiana and get absolutely embarrassed. How are you guys feeling about that game? Thoughts, concerns, any of that?
Yeah, well, to put it bluntly, like you said, App did not play well at all. We got manhandled. 13-41 just kind of sticks out pretty bad against the Sunbelt team in Louisiana. And we knew Louisiana was good going in, and we played at Cajun Field down there in Louisiana. And I think one thing that stood out to me was the fact that Louisiana has 246 rushing yards, and App State has 209 total yards. And to put that into perspective for you folks listening at home, that's not good. That's just not good at all. They had more rushing yards than we had total yards. And not to mention bad quarterback play from Chase Bryce, 15 of 26 for, I think, 133 yards and 2 interceptions and also 2 fumbles lost. So the offense couldn't keep the ball, which was a big problem, which turned into points for Louisiana. And also, we need to tighten up the D-line. The D-line allowed 246 rushing yards. Not just the D-line, but that defensive front seven. It just needs some adjustments, because I think the best version of App State is not going to allow 41 points to Louisiana, no matter where they are, the best version of us. And I also attribute it to, on the offensive side, not having, in my opinion, our best player on the offensive side in Cam Peoples. Honestly, I'm not going to blame it on the absence of Cam Peoples because we had Nate Noel, who he had 17 carries for 44 yards, and it looked like a very sloppy night. Nothing worked. 13 points, really one touchdown and 2 field goals is what it was, and yeah, just a really bad effort from App, and I think we just need to move forward and get ready for Coastal.
Yeah, no, let me say this before we get to Cody. That was the first time that App has allowed, was it 30 or more points a game in like 18 straight games, I think it was. So, I mean, that's uncommon for the defense to give up 40-plus points.
Yeah, this is my second year here, so it's not a lot to compare it to, but seeing that game was like, it's not in character for App State. It's not what I expected, obviously. To build on what you said, Cooper, way too many mistakes, 4 turnovers to 1 touchdown. It's just not good. And then way too conservative, I felt. There were a lot of running the ball on 3rd and long. We were 0 for 11 on 3rd down, and that's something that we have to fix.
Yeah, it's just the efficiency. App State's been known throughout having Sean Clark as an old offensive line coach here at App State, is the offensive line has always been a huge key here at App State. And for Nate Noel to average 2.5 yards per attempt, I think that has something to say about the offensive line as well, which is something they definitely need to look at. And then if you look at Chase Bryce, he leads the NCAA in interceptions since 2018, whether it was on Clemson, but most of that on Duke. Sorry, but yeah, so Chase Bryce is being too turnover friendly. We can't do it, and I had really high expectations for him because seeing ACC talent his whole entire career, you would think he'd come into the Sun Belt where it's not a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits, and he'd be able to just pick them apart, and that's not happening. And the long ball too on Tuesday was an issue too, with a long pass of 19 yards. You've seen how beautiful of a deep ball Chase Bryce can throw, and like you mentioned, the conservative play calling, which is I think a reason for that. Running was not working, and they just continued to try and pound it with Nate Noel, who I said just was not turning out like we thought it would, and nothing was opening up the deep ball downfield, and I feel like we're just a bit too predictable on offense right now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and you would really, I guess, expect that in a way whenever you have, 2 really, really good running backs, 2 of the best in the conference on your team. I don't want to put the whole blame on Chase for this game. Yes, there were plays Chase made that he shouldn't have made. There are plays he should have made that he didn't make. But I mean, in the end, football's a team game, So I mean, it's the whole team, and I guess the only thing that I could think of why we'd run the ball on 3rd and 8 is maybe we were trying to play the field position game. That's really the only thing I could possibly think of. I mean, I don't understand on 3rd and 8, running the ball 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6. I mean,
Yeah, but I don't think you play the field position game when you got outscored 20-3 in the first quarter. And another thing that I would like to touch on that I thought was kind of stuck out to me, and I hope it's not a trend the rest of the season. App was outscored, like I said, 20-3 in the first quarter. And then let's fast forward to the fourth quarter, 14-0. So what that tells me is App doesn't start strong and they don't finish strong. Those 2 quarters are where games can be won, as we've seen in the history of watching sports. So to put it bluntly, again, like I said before, we need to start and finish stronger, because being outscored 20-3, you're not allowed to call conservative plays. You just shouldn't, because you're already down so much that running on 3rd and 8 makes no sense game plan or game script wise, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if we're playing the field position game at that point in the game when we're losing like that, it feels like a lay down and kind of give up mentality.
Yeah, I love the point you make about starting and finishing, because we saw Elon was 13-3 at halftime. We saw Georgia State was way closer at halftime than it should have been. And we saw in games like Miami, the game was right there the whole entire time, and they just could not close it out. So that first and fourth quarter right now for App State is really where they've been struggling. And if you look at their stats, the third quarter this year is really the only time when App State looks like App State football. The other 3 quarters are just way too inconsistent.
Yeah, we all sound like a broken record when we say start strong, finish strong, because we've been saying that since week 1 and against ECU. But this team is they're frustrating to watch at times. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. You know, I mean, they really are. Like last night or Tuesday night, I'm sorry. I mean, first drive of the game, Levi Lewis throws an absolute bomb, you know, on a deep slant route, and they end up scoring. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go, you know. And so, you know, from there on, there was no heart at all in that game Tuesday. I mean, we got out-coached, outperformed. I mean, they played smarter than we did. They played harder than we did. Their offensive line absolutely manhandled our defensive line, and our defensive line has been historically solid, you know, the past couple of years. But they've struggled a little bit this year. But still, I mean, when you've got holes as big as or as wide as this room is, you know, I mean, you're gonna have a fabulous day on the ground. I mean, there was no need for them to pass it late in the second half with holes that big.
I mean, yeah, Levi Lewis cashed in on a rushing touchdown, so it wasn't even just their running backs at that point. But like you said, I think another point that needs to be brought up is the fact that quarterbacks that are versatile are the reason we are having close games or getting beat, because we don't have such a versatile quarterback as a guy like Levi Lewis or even Grayson McCall, who has 2 rushing touchdowns on the season, and Levi Lewis gets 1 against us.
And Grayson McCall can move with his feet too.
And he's very pocket aware, which is one thing that I think Chase can improve on as the season goes. It's just I've made the quarterback comparison in sports wraps before. I think it is a really big it's a really big aspect, because the quarterback is the sheriff, the quarterback is the commander of the team. So if he's standing like a statue in the pocket and he can't deliver balls, making it the longest throw of the night, 19 yards, I think you said, it kind of doesn't make the team work as good. That's the engine that makes everything go. So
yeah, and after the game against ECU, I was thinking that we fixed our problem of being one-dimensional, and I think, Stephen, you mentioned this, like, as the season has gone on, we've become more and more one-dimensional, and we haven't really focused on Chase Bryce as much as I feel like we should have, and that's caused some of those mistakes.
Yeah, and kind of touching off of what you, Jason, and Cooper both said, so stick with me here. We've all seen the 50 million Subway refresh commercials going on right now, right? I think that's almost what we need as a football team, because Jason mentioned how just at times it seems like we didn't have any fight. And I think that comes with, I think this team, not that they're coming out cocky, but they just have the expectation to win. Like, yes, they're super seniors. Yes, they came back because they want to win, but I just don't think they have the drive that would say some of these younger sophomores, juniors, or maybe even freshmen, or people that have been waiting in line because they've been through the Zach Thomas days. They've been there our freshman year when we were in multiple overtimes with Penn State and we were ranked. And I think they just come out there with the expectation to win sometimes, and that's where we get killed. And same with what you, Cooper, said about Chase Bryce. We're in a day of football where if your quarterback is not a running threat, it's so easy. Not easy, obviously, but for a defensive coordinator to scheme against a quarterback like Chase Bryce. Because, yes, he'll take off sometimes and slide after 5 yards, which is good for how unathletic, I guess you could say, is compared to a lot of quarterbacks. But like with Levi on Louisiana, he doesn't have that running threat. Defensive coordinators don't have to try and scheme around that, which I think is an issue.
Well, you know, it's. I agree. I like the take as far as the defensive coordinator is concerned, because you basically expect to pass, you know, a lot of times. Whereas when we were talking off air before the show started, it was almost like App's defense was playing more for the Levi Lewis run, kind of like the option, the RPO kind of thing, than they were anything else. And, you know, that left the secondary wide open. There was some miscommunication in the secondary. I mean, it was rough. It really was. And, you know, believe it or not, when you play these Tuesday night and Wednesday night games, these are hard games to prepare for as far as practice is concerned, you know, because it's like an off day for everybody. You know, you're not used to that system. You're used to playing Saturday, Sunday, having a very light practice on Sundays, and then getting back at it Monday through Thursday or Friday. You know, you're not used to having these Monday or these Tuesday or Wednesday games, and so it's tough on the players. And I'm not just talking about App's players. I'm talking about players in general. You know, and it's tough to see. And you hate to see it from an App fan perspective, but we gotta get rolling, or we could talk about this all night, and we got some good stuff to cover. So I want to ask you guys, because we kind of, I guess, answered, really what's going wrong. But I want to ask y'all, what does this team need to fix this week? I mean, you've got over a week basically to prepare for Coastal. What does this team have to fix with a little over a week before Coastal comes to town?
Well, I think there's a little bit of waiting involved in terms of fixing things. We're waiting for our number one running back to come back. There's a little bit of waiting involved, but also the fixing aspect comes into play when you have a 3-down lineman that I actually have praised very highly. I think they're currently the best defensive line in the Sun Belt, which is Caleb Sperlin, Jordan Earl, Demetrius Taylor. And those three I saw in the Marshall game. That was a very disruptive front in games like the Georgia State game where DT had 2 sacks in that game. So really, if we can just anchor down against the run, it makes it so much easier to stop teams in the air. That's a game script for any defensive coordinator that will tell you. If you can stop the run, you can easily limit a team from just blowing you out, because the run is how they set up RPOs. The run is how offenses set up, play actions or stuff like that. So in order to get us back into games, aside from Chase Brice, because Chase Brice needs to be worked on, but that's a Chase Brice situation. That only time will tell if he gets better or worse. But as for right now,
I don't know how I feel about the Chase Brice slander personally.
I'm just saying only time will tell if he gets better or worse.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't say Chase Brice is just absolutely horrible.
I didn't say that.
It's the inconsistency.
No, I didn't.
We saw him against Miami.
Listen,
he couldn't have hit our whole entire building if it was sitting on the 50-yard line.
And listen, I'm saying he has not played good. You can't tell me he has played good because in the past 2 weeks, because he hasn't.
I'll take the consistency part, and yes, I agree. He probably could have played a little better in weeks.
Better in a 13-41 loss. I mean, I think so.
But I wouldn't just say that Chase Brice is just absolutely
I didn't say
horrible.
That. No, I said only time will tell if he gets better, which I think he can. I honestly think, I believe in Chase Brice. I'm a Duke fan. You guys all know that. Even though he did really bad at Duke, I still had faith in the guy for some reason. But, yeah, no. So Chase Brice is a situation on his own. The defense and the offensive line, I think the offensive line will get tightened up because Bear Hunter, we have leaders on that offensive line that I could name off. But the defensive line, and I really do want to see more of TD Roof. TD Roof barely played. I think he played 1 drive in the Marshall game. 1 drive. And I don't know how much exactly he played in the Georgia State game, but I'd like to see TD Roof on the field more because he is actually a pretty good coverage linebacker. Like, he's fast, which DeMarco Jackson isn't. So play to our strengths. DeMarco Jackson is leading, I think you said he was 2nd in the nation in tackles.
Yeah,
right?
2nd or 3rd, I think.
That is his bread and butter. Let DeMarco Jackson do his work and put a faster linebacker like
on the outside.
Roof on the outside to cover. And I think we just need to fix a few things. Sean Jolly, he's had some ups and downs, but he's a good player. I've seen him at his best. I agree with Steven. I don't think everybody's playing at their best right now. But, yeah.
I absolutely agree. Chase Brice has 8 touchdowns on 5 interceptions, which isn't great on the season. His QBR was 26.4 on Tuesday night, but I don't want to let recency bias kind of affect my opinion because he has looked good over the season. But we just have to take more risks. We can't be running the ball on 3rd and long. Obviously, against a team like Coastal, that's not going to work. And then, as we've said every single week on this show, we just have to play a full game. Charles Davis tells me on Madden every single time I kick off the second half, the 3rd quarter is the most important quarter in football. But when you drop the ball in the 2nd quarter and the 4th quarter and the 1st quarter in a game the way the App has done so far this season, playing well in the 3rd quarter doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and as we've been at App State, we've all seen, even when our offense would lack at some points, the defense was there. And this defense is going to be huge against Coastal. And defense, we have superstars, and you need your superstars to come out and play. Thomas Hennigan and Demetrius Taylor had the same amount of tackles on Tuesday, 1 apiece. And DeMarco Jackson had 3. And we've seen what DeMarco Jackson did against Georgia State, where he won Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Week, and how just great he is overall for this App State team. We need our defensive superstars to step up because Coastal's offense has been insanely efficient this year, scoring 50 points per game. And if App lets that happen, there's no chance they have a shot at this game. And also, kind of going back to Chase Bryce a little bit, Grayson McCall, it's going to be a quarterback battle here. Grayson McCall has exactly 70 less pass attempts than Chase Bryce, with only 15 less passing yards, but 14 touchdowns and one interception compared to 8 touchdowns and 5 interceptions for Chase Bryce, and an efficiency rating of 234 for Grayson McCall compared to Chase Bryce's 145.
Yeah, but you want to know probably one of the biggest reasons why he got so many less passes. They run the option a lot. They like to run the option.
With the weapons Chase Bryce has.
I know, I agree. But, here's the thing for me. I think that the biggest thing, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the football as well, and then we'll go back around the table if you want to. But, you've got to find a way to get pressure on Grayson McCall. I mean, Grayson McCall is going to rely very heavily on Isaiah Likely and Javon Hiley. A tight end and a receiver are the two guys that are both, I believe they're both seniors, came back again for another year to play. And those are two guys he's relied very heavily on all year long.
Yep.
It's different. So you hope that the home fans will kind of help out this App team a little bit. I would, if you want me to be honest, I would have felt a lot more comfortable if we would have won Tuesday against Louisiana. I would have felt a lot more comfortable coming into this game. I think, though, that with the atmosphere as a whole and the environment and then the revenge tour that you're on right now, 14, 15, 16 guys come back for this game. This is a big reason why they come back for another year.
Yeah.
And so I got a feeling this game is going to be very personal to them. I got a feeling this is going to be a game that App really wants to win and is going to go out and play their best football. But the problem is you've got to be consistent with that.
Yep.
And the one thing that I will say about us losing Tuesday, we're still in good shape as far as making a Sun Belt championship because Louisiana's in the other division.
And we're only 1-1.
And we're only 1-1.
But
we have to beat Coastal. We have to go undefeated in our division again. We have to go undefeated in our division. And let's be honest. I mean, Coastal's played, mediocre at best teams.
Let's call it what it is. It's a cupcake schedule, dude.
And they did that on purpose.
Yes.
And they play 4 away games, 5 away games
they
all
love
year.
Playing on that blue field. Man.
I mean, it's like they purposefully scheduled terrible teams on purpose. They want the cupcake schedule for the national recognition and publicity. They've never faced a team like App before this year, at least. And so this is going to be a wake up call for Coastal. Coastal's a great football team. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Do I think they're better than App? No. And I think it's going to be more of a personal level as to why App wins this game. I think it's going to be just the payback that they want and the hatred that they have for losing that game in Conway last year.
Yep.
I think Coach was coming in here riding high. We beat them last year, we'll beat them again this year. No, it's not going to work that way. I think App is. I hope App comes out and punches them in the mouth, first couple of drives.
We got the home field advantage.
Yeah, we'll see. So if I were a betting man, I would say our first play of the game is going to be a run. I would be close to saying that. So.
And the status is still unclear on Cam Peoples. We don't know when he's going to be back. But if we do run it with that number 6, with number 6 on the first play, I like our odds. But I think you made a really good point, Jason. The fact that they also Coastal hasn't played a lot of great teams. I think their last true test was BYU. With Zach Wilson. I think that was honestly their last true test.
And they really almost lost that game,
too. They did. No, they did.
I guarantee you they would not have played BYU if BYU wouldn't have come to them.
No, I think you're right. No, you're right. And another thing, you mentioned the 2 receivers for Coastal. So Grayson McCall has 1,478 passing yards on the season. Those 2 have combined for over 1,100 of those yards.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
So you have a game plan.
Yeah.
Like you can sit here, if you are App, you can sit here and say, okay, these 2 guys have killed everybody they've played this year. So zero in on them. Sean Jolly's covering one of them, and then put your next best coverage back on
which would be, I guess, Stephen Jones. But
probably
the problem is Isaiah Likely's a tight end, but he runs like he's a receiver.
So then you're faced with the issue of do you put a fast linebacker on him, or do you put one of your better coverage DBs on him?
Yeah, and run like a 2 high, cover 2 zone, maybe.
Yeah, but
I mean, I don't know how you approach the situation. It's
A lot to be said.
yeah, a lot to be said. I would say one thing though. It's going to be packed here, and it's going to be loud at the top of that hill up there on Wednesday night. So definitely exciting, that's for sure. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we've got the segment that I'm probably most excited to talk about, just because I want to pick you all's brain. And so we'll see. We'll see. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. You listen to Sports Wrap presented by Eggers, and Eggers, right here in Boone, located on King Street. We'll be right back. We did just recap kind of the App State Louisiana game on Tuesday, just kind of talking about what we liked, didn't like, that sort of thing, and then the adjustments we need to make for Coastal on Wednesday, just under a week away. So now I want to get into some NFL. And this is gonna be fun. I'm excited for this segment. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I guess start it off slowly. Bucks and Eagles tonight. I believe that game's in Philly, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Bucks and Eagles tonight. Just thoughts on that game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Jalen Hurts plays against a very formidable defense and a formidable team. He's going up against, I mean, let's just say it, one of the best, if not the best quarterback to ever play NFL football. So he's coming in at home as an underdog, I believe. I think you said it was +5, right? What
7.
Oh, +7? Okay. So it's +7, and honestly, I think Jalen Hurts has it in him. I've seen flashes of it, even in that Chiefs game a few weeks ago. The Chiefs ran away with that game, but I saw a lot. I like Devontae Smith as a rookie receiver. He's really good. Jalen Reagor is doing all right. They've got an interesting backfield right now with Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell. So that's like a very interesting like tandem that they've been doing. And I don't know. I'd like to see how. Unless Dallas Goedert, I really like Dallas Goedert's matchup against any of the linebackers from Tampa Bay. He's a very fast tight end. He's long. He's got long arms. He's tall. He's already gotten he's cashed in on some touchdowns this year. Yeah, so he's already got 3 touchdowns this year, and which is pretty good for a tight end. So, yeah, we should be looking for some very interesting plays tonight. Go ahead, Cody.
I think the Bucks win and cover. They'll win by at least a touchdown. The Eagles are coming off of a big win against a Carolina team that wasn't the better team, or the Eagles weren't the better team. I think Carolina was a better team. Jalen Hurts kind of struggled against a really good defense, so I'm worried that he's going to do the same thing tonight. And in case you guys didn't know, Tom Brady is pretty good at football. He's absolutely ageless, had 400-plus yards and 5 touchdowns, I think for the first time in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still playing like he's in his prime, and he's going to pick the Eagles apart, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cooper stole the word formidable right out of my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
except I was going to say pass rush instead of just defense overall, because you got Vita Vea plugging up the middle and Ndamukong Suh, you've got Shaq Barrett on the outside, and Jalen Hurts is still a very young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime you can get a pass rush, even though he is mobile on a young quarterback, I think that's always going to cause issues. And I mean, I like Tampa -7. I like the under here at 52.5 because I don't think the Eagles are going to be putting up too many points. And I also like the under on Jalen Hurts passing yards, which is at 286.5. I just don't see Jalen Hurts getting that high in the pass game.
He won't have time.
With this Eagles team, I mean, I just don't think they have the talent to stand up to the Buccaneers. It's just a young quarterback. It's a young team overall. The defense isn't awful, but it's nothing special. Probably in that 18 to 22 range in the league. Like, it's just decent. And I don't think they're going to be able to stop Tom Brady. And they have Mike Evans, as we know, Chris Godwin. Fournette's been known to have a game a time or two. But Antonio Brown has gotten hot over the past couple weeks.
Yes.
And Tom Brady has been giving him all types of praise lately, saying he's like a little brother to him almost, and seeing everything he's done over the 18 months, which has kind of been cool to see because we know where Antonio Brown was at one point. And I think the Bucs are just going to be way too hot here tonight, and I don't think this game's going to be close.
It would not surprise me one bit if this game is close. I think that if the Eagles want a chance at winning this game, I think Jalen Hurts is probably going to have to involve his legs very often. I think he's going to have to end up running it, not a lot, but, every once in a while, if a read's not there, nobody's open, run the ball. If you've got the opportunity. And then that forces the Bucs defense to really have to start, playing more hesitant to try to stop the run, and then that opens the pass, and so I mean we've heard it all before, yada yada yada, so I mean I think that it's going to be super huge if the Eagles want a chance in this game. They're going to have to win it with their legs, and then. The talk all week has been Tom Brady's thumb, but I mean.
He's good to go.
We've heard
He's
that
fine.
before.
Yeah,
he's good to go.
He's fine. He's going to play. The man just threw for 500 yards with a bum thumb. A bum thumb.
He's still setting records here, as old as he is. Last week, first game over 400.
Father
passing
Time
yards
does
and
not
5
exist.
touchdowns.
Father Time does not exist when it comes to this man. But I will say, though, if he isn't keeping his body taking good care of his body like he has been, I don't think he would be performing this well. I think he's taking very good care of his body. He's very strict on his diets, staying active, staying healthy, and it's helping him a lot.
Mind you, Antonio Brown is his third option.
Yeah.
Right? He's got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And I think we just forget that Mike Evans went 7 seasons with 1,000+ receiving yards. So,
with Jameis Winston.
with Jameis Winston, who at one point threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns. But I think it's hard to fathom how good this offense could be and still is. They're not the best offense in the NFL, but they have the weapons to put up 50 points on people. They just do, because they have options. And when Rob Gronkowski is healthy, I mean, he needs 2 people on him in the end zone. Anywhere inside the 20, he needs probably a safety and a linebacker on him. Because he just demands coverage. The dude, yeah.
Have y'all seen that video of him getting on the plane and saying "Go Bucks"? He says it like 5 times. I don't know. It's hilarious. It makes me laugh. Yeah, Rob Gronkowski got a bum rib. So
yeah.
It's going to be a fun game to watch. I love watching Tom Brady play, not just because he's on my fantasy team, but I love watching Tom Brady play. It's awesome seeing somebody that age still perform as well as he does. I mean, it really is. It's so cool to see. So We're going to move on into probably one of the segments that I'm most excited to talk about tonight, just because I want to kind of pick you all's brain about this topic. But clearly, we all know the situation with John Gruden and the Raiders and the whole email thing. What are you guys kind of thinking about that? I'm gonna let you all go, and then I'll say what I feel like needs to be said.
Yeah, so what we know so far is John Gruden has stepped down from the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And my thinking is Mark Davis walked when John Gruden arrived to Allegiant Stadium on Monday. Mark Davis called him into his office. This is an open source. And I believe Mark Davis said, "We're going to let you go if you don't step down," pretty much. It was one of those situations. So the situation is 10 years ago, back in 2011, when John Gruden worked for ESPN. He was on Monday Night Football with Mike Tirico, possibly one of my favorite broadcast duos ever. And those two had a really great chemistry, but the emails that were sent were in regards to someone who is named DeMaurice Smith, who is on the NFLPA. And the emails were obvious. They were sick. They were uncalled for. Everything, I cannot say enough bad things. I mean, John Gruden is in the wrong, and there's other emails that are coming out now between him and Washington, and a higher up from Washington. I can't remember exact position, but they exchanged some very bad emails. So from that perspective, from that light, you have to look at it as in, okay, he needed to go, right? He absolutely needed to go. There's no excuse for anything that he did. But now, for me, this is an accountability issue with the NFL. The NFL has got to be more accountable for not only its coaches, but its players as well, the people that is on their payroll. And I'll draw a few references. For example, Kareem Hunt, he was a former pick from Toledo, from the Kansas City Chiefs. The year that he got into a scandal, he actually led the NFL in rushing yards. He was a prolific athlete. And then he gets into a scandal. I believe it was domestic abuse. And he was let go from the team, but he has a job now. He's still in the NFL. He's a top running back on most fantasy teams. He's playing for the Browns now. Another player, Adrian Peterson. As we know his situation, Tyreek Hill was involved in some allegations that got him in really big trouble.
Josh Gordon's been reinstated how many times
Josh Gordon is now playing for the Chiefs after he's been reinstated for multiple incidents. Antonio Brown, who we just talked about, has had a lot of issues on and off the field with coaches, management. He's had issues. He said things.
Tyreek Hill, too.
That's what, I just mentioned Tyreek. But it's an accountability issue, and I am not. I need to make this more clear. I cannot say enough bad things about what John Gruden said, and that should never be said. He should not be allowed to have a job anywhere else. But with that being said, there are some things that need to be cleaned up on the NFL's perspective, because it makes it seem like John Gruden was turned into a scapegoat, which I don't think is the case, but it's outward appearing that way. So, yeah, that's my take on the John Gruden situation.
Before we get to you, I want to say this. And, because I wondered the same stuff you wondered, but now while you're talking, I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, maybe this situation doesn't happen with players because the fans love those players,
Possible.
And if the fans love those players, the NFL ratings are going to come up, which means more money, which, it all ties back into the money scheme. So, sure. I just now kind of thought about that. I'm not really sure if that's accurate.
But morally, that still doesn't sound
No, yes, I 110% agree with you. You're usually when domestic abuse is jail, not okay, slap on the wrist, get back out on the field, and pay a fine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I want to preface this first with two things. One, I totally agree with you guys about accountability.
Yeah.
Everything I'm about to say is more focused on John Gruden, but I agree with you guys on that. The second thing, as a white straight male who goes to church on Sundays, my opinion on this is not as valuable as some others who these comments and insensitive at best things, but in reality racist, homophobic, and misogynistic messages kind of target. But evidently it feels like John Gruden has not learned from the things he's said. The comments came as recent as 2018, and even the ones in 2011, he was 48 years old and aware of what he was saying, doing, and mimicking. In his apology, Gruden said, quote, he doesn't have a racist bone in his body, which everyone's heard that excuse before. But if you look back at those comments and couldn't find a racist bone in that body, his thoughts evidently have not changed. The way he thinks and the way he acts most likely has not changed. People in positions of power, and people everywhere, but especially in positions of power, don't get to use that kind of language and stay in the building and stay in those positions. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely fantastic, in my opinion, that he is out of the league.
Well, look at the Jerry Richardson situation, you know? I mean, that was talked about the whole offseason, and they finally just, you know? I mean, and so, yeah, I mean, I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at John Gruden, we've seen throughout his whole entire career, there's been a bunch of questionable things, rumors, acts that has happened. The only thing that's tough for me about this is just the delay in it. Like, why did it take 7 years for the one comments and 10 years for the next comments? Because then you can make the excuse of, well, why are we comparing somebody now to the standards in 2010?
Exactly.
Not that the things he said was ever okay, I guess you could say. It's just kind of looking at it that way. I could definitely see how it's a bit tough, but almost what I'm more interested than anything is ever since the football team's gone under investigation, they have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, I've heard, of emails. We've seen John Gruden go down now. We've seen Adam Schefter's journalistic integrity get questioned. As like kind of being in a sports drama a bit, even if it's like, I'm not going because I know it's like bad things people are saying, I'm excited to see what comes out next because you know this is just the beginning of this. This is not the end.
This is just a surface.
Yes, they have so many more emails to go through, and you know GMs and people running football teams are emailing and talking to all kinds of people every day, and if they're going all the way back to 10 years for John Gruden when he wasn't even in the league, imagine what else is going to start coming up.
And I think also another thing we're forgetting about is that in 2021, things have changed a lot in terms of everything is posted everywhere. Everything gets shared a million times before the individual, whoever it is, gets to even speak on it. So I think the world we live in versus 2011, this is happening quicker than it would have in 2011 because just that's how society is working today. Twitter, Instagram, and now his former players are coming out to speak against him or comment on him. Mike, like you said, Mike Tirico has spoken on the situation. But I think overall, John Gruden is not. I'm not calling him a victim at all. But 2021 societal norms would have him out the door this quick, like even quicker, because people online will call for his head, rightfully so. But in 2011. I think that's why it's getting more light today than it would have in 2011, is just because of the pure severity of it. And way more people are active on social media. Way more people watch the news. Way more people are involved in sports. So, yeah.
I wanna play you all a video that I saw on TikTok. If I can get it to work, I'm gonna play it through my microphone and see if I can get it to play. But this is Derek Carr speaking here, the Las Vegas Raiders starting quarterback, and he actually was asked about the situation as a whole. So I'm going to see if I can play it, and then there's something that I want to point out to you guys. So let me see if this will work. I've never tried this before, so.
I love the man, right? And I hate, you hate the sin, like for me, you hate for anybody. No one's perfect. If we just started opening up everybody's private emails and texts, people would start sweating a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Hopefully not too many, but maybe that's what they should do for all coaches and GMs and owners from now on, is open up. You got to open up everything, see what happens. But you hate the action. You hate it. You're not supposed to like it, but you love the person, and I love the person. I've grown to love him so much. We spent so much time together. We've been through so many battles. We've been through so many things together. He's always had my back. He's always been there for me. And I love his family. I love his wife. I love his kids. And I think that's why it's hard, because he's not around. It's over. He's not.
So that's basically the whole video and basically what Derek Carr said. And one of the things that he said to me that really stuck out was if we open up everyone's private messages and emails, people would start sweating a little bit. So here's my whole thing about this, and clearly we could see by that video and then what Mike Tirico said. People love John Gruden. They love it. I think he's hilarious. He makes me laugh.
Spider 2Y banana.
Yeah, Spider 2Y banana. Yeah, you watch that. What's it called? The used to come on where you get the top college quarterback.
Yeah, and he would talk to him. Yeah,
Gruden Grinders. Yes, That's exactly right. Yeah, Spider White 2 banana. He was great, but no, there's part of me wonders. Okay, you're getting into this guy's really personal life. I mean, that's like. I guarantee you that he's probably not the only head coach or owner or GM or whatever that said stuff of that nature. Now, I 100% without a doubt agree completely with you all. That is not right. That's uncalled for. You should not discriminate against people like that who are basically working for the same employer you're working for. And so, but in the same way. You dig into these guys' emails, and it's like, okay, the emails are really supposed to be, in a sense, kind of private.
Yep.
That would be like me going in and digging in through all you all's emails, text messages, direct messages, whatever it may be. I mean, that's like private
it's
information.
Like going through an Xbox party chat. I mean, like
yeah,
this.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that the way the NFL handled it, I guess, was needed, but. At the same time, if you're going to do that to a coach, you've got to do that to players too. I mean, Josh Gordon has failed drug tests multiple times. I feel like more times than I've been alive. I mean, and I'm serious. And then you're gonna reinstate him. Then you got Ray Rice, who punched the living out of his girlfriend or whatever in the elevator. And then Ray Rice never came back and played after that. But and then the same thing goes with Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, all that.
Yep.
And you've got to hold everybody to that same standard. I get you have to hold the head coach to a higher standard. I get that because he's higher up. But at the same time, if you're going to do that to a head coach, you've got to do that to the players, I would think.
Yeah, and once again, I want to make sure that it's clear that I agree. Everyone needs to be held accountable. And Derek Carr had a mostly respectable answer, but this isn't a not everyone is perfect situation. This isn't a situation where you go and you say, oh, that was just one mistake. One, because it happened multiple times, and two, it's above just not being perfect. If you went back and looked at my messages, you wouldn't come back thinking I'm a racist, I'm a homophobe, I'm a misogynist. This isn't one of those oh, well, he made a mistake type situations. And when you say that we should... what else are we going to find if we go through other executives and coaches' emails? This may be a conversation for another day. It opens up a big can of worms. There's a lot of kind of positions on it. But when we talk about how the NFL is majority people of color when it comes to players, but not people in the front office or on the sideline, this is why we must have minorities in positions of power so that ignorant thoughts, words, and actions such as these can be checked. So that it's not possible for coaches to send emails to executives that contain racist, homophobic, and misogynistic messages.
You can't put a minority in the upper office and then think that that's just going to keep players, coaches from saying that kind of stuff.
No, but it won't. But when you go back and you look at those messages, it looked pretty normalized. It looked like he wasn't afraid to send those, and nobody else was, and there was zero accountability. And now it's only coming back 10 years later.
And
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're okay. I was going to say, I don't know, I'm not sure if you all listen to country music at all. Country music's I listen to. And one of the biggest controversies really towards the end of the year last year was the whole Morgan Wallen thing about using the racist term in his yard. He uses that term in his yard where he feels like he's in private. He's in his area, in his territory. There's things I guarantee that all four of us say within our own four walls, whatever you want to call it, that we wouldn't say out in public.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's kind of, in a sense, an invasion of privacy And then I feel like it's the same way with this situation too.
You know, Jason, I want to touch on a really very touching segment that Randy Moss did on NFL Live a few days ago. It was very moving because he got emotional. Randy Moss, as we all know, Hall of Fame wide receiver, quite possibly one of the best wide receivers, and he's on NFL Live. He's on a panel of. He's actually, aside from Teddy Bruschi, he's the only person of color on that. And he had a really touching thing to say. He said, verbatim, he said, we're moving backwards, but we should be moving forwards. And this, and I don't want to bring too many things into this, but it brings a social justice aspect into it, which has been really big since 2020, 21. And it really does make me feel sad for a guy like Randy Moss, because Randy Moss is such a great player. And we don't know the things that they heard, the things that, that did go unsaid back when maybe it was, I hate to say this, more normalized than it is today. And you could tell that he was very upset because the NFL is in a state where it is fighting for justice and they are trying to move forward, but incidents like this, unfortunately, are pushing us back.
And within my, I guess, religion. Actually, I know it's a religion, but anyways, we are called. And my dad and mom have both always taught me this. We are called to be set apart, and I don't think that I think that goes within everybody. And there's no. It's sad because at this point there's no respect or anybody for gender, race, all that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's absolutely no respect for it, and it's sad to see because you should learn to love people, and understand that not everybody's going to think the same way you think, believe the same way you believe, that kind of thing. But I mean, just because somebody's, I don't know. It's just it's hard to see, and I'm trying to make it to where we don't get too super political on all of this. But it's really hard to see today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the NFL is doing, it is tough to see it, but I think they are doing somewhat of a better job. The whole John Gruden thing lasted, 24 to 48 hours, and he was gone. We saw what happened to Bruce Allen, the football team's old GM, when he had the text about cheerleaders and a few other disturbing things at one of their photo shoots, and he was gone because the NFL has, which they should, this whole inclusive type of thing going on, because in 2021, that's what's fair. And so I think while it is still bad, this stuff's happening in the NFL, I do think the NFL is doing a good job of trying to get rid of it, because this John Gruden thing happened extremely fast. There wasn't much
there was no dilly-dallying.
There was a game that happened in between, but it's just the way the timings work, because it came out late during the week on a Friday or whatever it was, game on Sunday as the investigation was going on. But for this to happen this fast, if you even just want to call it a first step towards what's going forward, I think is a good look for the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. There was no dilly-dallying about it. They made a decision. Mark Davis made a decision and went with it. So, I think in a way, I think it's safe to say, really, I feel like we're all kind of on the same page in this, in a sense. But I like to, in this situation, agree to disagree. Just because.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because there's so many takes, but real fast, Cody, because we need to go to commercial.
Yeah, for sure. But one thing in this situation, it is definitely good that the NFL has moved as quick as they have. But again, in my Xbox parties or whatever, there's nothing that you can retrieve from that's going to get me fired from my job, and nor should it be an excuse. And when you're an NFL coach, and even though he wasn't at the time, but he is now, and was emailing people such as NFL executives who control the checks and the employment of people of color, of, there's a gay player on the Raiders. When you are in control of these things, you are held to a higher standard, and your messages between you and someone else in a front office, it's not really an invasion of privacy.
But don't my whole thing is don't say anything in private that you would be ashamed to say in public.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't think John Gruden, clearly he didn't. He said I don't have a racist bone in my body, but yeah, I think it's safe to say, because we're going to skip this question, but I think it's safe to say we all agree that John Gruden will not be employed in the NFL again. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right. Sweet. So we're going to take one more commercial break. I apologize apologize. We got so caught up in conversation, I completely forgot to. But don't go anywhere. We're going to end the show with some college football. I just want to pick your brain a little bit about a couple things for the season so far. So you're listening to Sports Wrap presented by Eggers, and Eggers right here on 90.5 WASU FM.
Eggers Law Firm is a full-service law firm.
Life is a journey. We're told that there are mountains and valleys before us. A mountaineer trudges through. Where others see an obstacle, a mountaineer sees an opportunity. A mountaineer climbs tomorrow's mountains today. So what is a mountaineer? A mountaineer is you.
Just had a little conversation about how we felt about the whole John Gruden situation, and I'm glad we cut it off when we did, because I felt like we get
beating a dead horse there.
Right, beat a dead horse, and you get too involved, then you end up causing legal problems, I guess you could say. But no, I want to move on, and I had a whole segment for college football, but I'm kind of going to skip that and say this. So Oklahoma, just for those of you who are wondering, Oklahoma has been they played Texas last week in the Red River Showdown. Ended up winning that game. Spencer Rattler didn't play great. They bring in Caleb Washington, I believe is his name.
Williams.
Yeah. Okay, Williams, out of Washington D.C. I'm sorry, and so now there's been a lot of speculation, is Spencer Rattler going to transfer and near the transfer portal? I want to know kind of what you all think about the transfer portal in general. And I'm not just talking about college football in general. I'm talking about college football, college basketball, or seem to be the two we see it the most in.
Well, one thing the transfer portal is used for a lot, and I like that it's used for this. It's when players, very good players, and even decent players go to a school and think they have a fit and realize that either they aren't going to start over a player before their time is out, or they want to potentially improve their draft stock by going on to another team, or maybe they just didn't like the fit at the school they were and want a new start, or maybe an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator or somebody reached out to them and said, hey, listen, we can make it work with you. Obviously they were probably promised that at the institution that they went to in the first place, but for some people, a fresh start works out beautifully. We've seen players transfer in college basketball and make excellent careers out of it. We've seen players in college, most notably recently, Jalen Hurts going to Oklahoma and finishing out his career there. And then obviously we talked about him earlier, he's playing for the Eagles. So improved his draft stock a little bit. And just situations like that, I think the transfer portal is important, and I think it's okay that it gets used in that sense.
Yeah, I like the transfer portal. I think it gives the most opportunities to the most important people in college football, and that's the players. It's understandable wanting to transfer. Stuff happens. People quit their jobs for new ones. Things don't work out. Not every situation is a perfect one. And so I say give the best opportunity to the players by letting them transfer. You can take it back to people wanting a bigger stage, Cam Newton transferring to Auburn. You can take it to people wanting more touches, like Joe Burrow to LSU. So if it gives the kids the best opportunity to put their name out there, why not let them transfer?
Yeah, the transfer portal is kind of exciting as a fan, but for a coach, it's got to be a nightmare because you are constantly having to still essentially recruit your players even after they're already on your team. But it is fun as a fan. But I want to throw this out there for Spencer Rattler if he does transfer. I like Ole Miss for him a lot because Corral's probably going to go to the draft. We've seen what Kiffin and his offense can do, elevating Matt Corral. He's got 0 interceptions this year, which has been an issue with Rattler, is how loose he is with the ball and turnovers. And the only game they've lost this year is against Alabama, and they beat Arkansas in that shootout. So keep that in mind. I like Rattler to Ole Miss. I think that would be a great fit.
Yeah, they got blown out by Bama. Really, that game wasn't even close, even though the score reflected it. But here's my thing about the transfer portal. I'm very, very on the fence in this one, if you will. I love the idea of the new opportunities it gives. You know, Cam Newton leaving Florida because Tebow beats him out, goes to Auburn, ends up winning the starting job. I like that a lot. But at the same time, you got to feel like it's killing the sport in a sense. Because it's like, okay, you're the starter, then somebody comes in and takes your spot. Okay, work harder, work harder, dedicate your time and yourself to working harder to get that spot back. Don't just say, all right, I lost my spot, I'm leaving, I'm gone. Now, whenever you've got, okay, let's just say Garrison Brooks, for example. Garrison Brooks had the extra year of COVID eligibility, chooses to take it, but takes it somewhere else, and takes it to Mississippi State where his dad's coaching at. That's different. But, and then you've got coaches like Roy Williams who say, look, the game has changed so much since I've been coaching. And like Stephen, like you said, the game has changed so much, and it's not the same anymore because when Roy first started coaching, guys didn't transfer very often at all. And so now I like the idea for the new opportunities that it gives, but at the same time, I feel like in a way it can kind of kill programs and it can kind of kill players, teams, because then you got to start all over again. Whereas then you see a guy like Jalen Hurts who transfers to Oklahoma, he really gets beat out by Tua, but was a great sport about it and decides, okay, my time here is done. They want to go a different direction, I'm going to transfer. And he transfers, and look at him now. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Tonight.
Yeah, tonight. So this transfer portal is it's something, I guess, really you could say it could kill the sport in general, but at the same time, I like the take, Cody, that you had about the opportunity that it gives players, the new opportunity. And so, we'll see kind of, I guess, how it works out with the whole Spencer Rattler situation. I have heard that he will enter the transfer portal. I've seen where he's not on the student directory anymore at Oklahoma. I don't know how true that is, obviously. And then, I saw another one where he has said he's going to transfer, but they have recommended him staying with the team as of now. And then, Coop, you mentioned the backup is actually taking first-string practices this week. Yeah. So we don't really know how accurate these statements really are, but we're kind of over time here. But before I go, rather than doing shout-outs, I want to do kind of a final thoughts. So I want to see you all's final thoughts on whether it's sports throughout the week or just anything happening around town, whatever it may be. Just what's kind of you all's final thoughts on the day as we try to close out the show.
Well, yeah, obviously looking forward to this Thursday night football game, and Eagles Bucks also. You just turned 22, I just turned 21, so looking forward to both being legal now and being able to have fun as adults. But yeah.
Yeah, I got a few quick ones to get out.
Wait, can I say, is one give me the Canes?
Yeah, it'll be in there. Happy late birthday to you, Jason. That's awesome. Thursday night football tonight. Phoenix Mercury won last night to knot up the WNBA Finals. They play again against the Chicago Sky tomorrow. Giants versus Dodgers tonight to make the NLCS. And the Hurricanes drop the puck to begin their season. So many exciting things happening right now.
Yeah, hockey for me is it. It's been absolutely awesome. My Pittsburgh Penguins won 6-2 against back-to-back champs Tampa Bay Lightning on Tuesday, which was great. But I really like what ESPN and especially TNT is doing with Paul Nasty Bissonnette from Barstool on there, Wayne Gretzky on there. They brought over Liam McHugh from NBC who did
Sean
hockey coverage
McDonough
there.
does it for ESPN.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you guys watched it all last night, but during the Rangers and Capitals game, they did a shootout where Charles Barkley was in goal and Wayne
What?
Gretzky was out there taking shots, and it was awesome. So I'm happy hockey's back, and I like what TNT and ESPN are doing with it a lot.
Yeah, I think they're trying to bring back the relevance for hockey because so many people, including myself, don't know nearly as much
Yeah.
about hockey as probably I should. But I did go to a Checkers game one time, incidentally. It wasn't on purpose. I thought we were going somewhere else. Ended up at a Charlotte Checkers game. We're like, oh hey, let's watch this, and it ended up being really fun. So yeah, and I saw a video posted on Twitter of the Phoenix Mercury game, and it was cool getting to see the packed stands. You had the big names for the Suns: Jay Crowder, Chris Paul was there, Devin Booker was there, Cameron Johnson was there, all front row. So it's awesome to see the guys supporting the girls. It's awesome to see that, and it was cool to see it packed in the there's WNBA. They can ball. Let me just tell you, they can ball. And then mine's going to be the NLDS Game 5. NLDS winner takes on the Atlanta Braves. That one's going to be a fun game to watch tonight. Brandon Crawford, one of my favorite shortstops in the game. Corey Seager from my hometown, another cool guy that I like watching. So that one is going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we did run over a little bit, unfortunately, but I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their week. We will see you Tuesday. I will not. I will see you Thursday. But these guys may potentially see you on Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Sports Wrap presented by Eggers, and Eggers. Stephen Biddix, Cody Barrett, Cooper Govero. I'm Jason James signing off. But before I go, don't forget, roll nears. Have a good evening, everyone.